It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
And welcome to Nerd Breaking News. We are going to talk about a head coach that has been around for 26 years in college football, and he walks out as a seven-time national champion himself. And of course, we're talking about probably the greatest head coach in the sport, and that's going to be Nick Saban. So, of course, we're going to go and react to the story. We also had another part of it where we actually heard that Dan Lanning, the head coach over at Oregon, is currently in Tuscaloosa for the position. So, let's go ahead and talk about it, and let's go straight with the kid. What do you think about what's going with the retirement?
I think that shockness, right? Where everybody was didn't see this coming. Uh, so there's a lot of theories going around in reference of why he left, in reference of the NIL era. But I guess the most important thing what happened is that Nick Saban is like Belichick, right? Because Belichick is rumored to be leaving the Patriots as well this year. This is the end of an era. This feels like the day where LeBron retires, the day that Brady retired previously. This feels like, oh man, it's over, it's done. What's the next step? What's the next chapter? And I think it's one, it's exciting, and another thing is more. As much as I don't know, I don't think none of us are Alabama fans, but we all have the same level of respect for Nick Saban. I don't think there's a lot of people, unless you really, really dislike Alabama. I don't think there's a lot of people who openly say Nick Saban is trash or he's overrated or anything like. To win 7 national championships, that's more than two schools put together. That's more than that's probably was it 7, right? So that's Florida State and UM will have to combine rings just to Wonder Twin Powers unite, Power Rangers unite versus Nick Saban. Um, Nick Saban to have 7 national champions, just saying it out loud, right? Surreal, and he did it in a great era. His the kids under him in the last 14, 15 years, because we're counting also an LSU title, guys. Remember that he won an LSU
Mhm.
title, and he won 6, I guess, in Alabama. Um,
Yes.
all the alumni that came through the last period of time that he was whole era in Alabama is astronomical. Great recruiter. He's known for his work ethic. He's known for like to be. There was a time where, um, 8 9 years ago, that if you beat Nick Saban, you win a Heisman, i.e. Johnny Manziel. That's how big it was to beat Nick Saban. And the fact that he's retired, it's a new era. It's exciting. We got a lot to talk about. And with Dan Lanning, I guess the rumor is that he landed in Tuscaloosa, and he's the favorite to take over the position. I like Dan Lanning. The problem with Dan Lanning is, kind of like Mario Cristobal, he didn't get over the hump in Oregon. But I like him. He looks like he's a passionate football coach. We'll see where it goes in reference of what he does with Alabama. I just think good luck. It's hard. It's kind of like oh yeah, um, Jay Williams drafted in 2001. Take over this Bull team. See how that goes. Uh, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I just think that for most college football fans, us included, it's a sign. It's the sun is rising for the idea that we could actually do damage now that Saban is gone, and I think that's probably what it feels like. That even though it might not happen.
So Nick Saban is like the Thanos of college football. The movie starts, and the first thing he does is beat up one of the heroes, tears him up. You hate the character. You're like, no, I can't stand this guy. And as the movie goes on and on and on, you nod your head and you're like, I respect him though. And for the majority of my life, I have hated everything about Nick Saban in Alabama. Being a UF fan, he was our mortal enemy back when we were a good team. But where I have to concede is underneath it was a great amount of respect and admiration for the way that he builds his teams. Because no matter what talent he starts with, by the end of the season, they all look the same. Everyone's doing what they need to do, and you would never know what star they were when they were drafted. At the end of the day, they all end up looking elite towards the end, which is crazy. You are really looking at one of the greatest coaches, one of the greatest leaders of men of all time. And I'm just a hater, but I gotta respect.
To
And
your point,
I'm right there with you, honestly, because I was the same thing. I remember going on a road trip and cutting through Alabama, and I had to stop and get myself an Alabama hat, just to have it because I was like, I might not like what the team and Coach Saban, but I had so much respect for him that just the idea of owning an Alabama hat from Alabama was like huge for me, and he's been such a prominent figure in college football. You can't take away anything that he's accomplished and the talent that he's brought in. It was always right there, top five for sure in every aspect. He was always the team that if you wanted to pick a winner all the time and you wanted to put a bet on it, it was on Nick Saban.
Yep.
like his third stringers were 5 stars. Somebody goes down, somebody just comes in and just. I remember watching certain games. Oh, Derrick Henry's off for this game. Oh, doesn't matter. Here comes a 5-star third string running back who's just as good. Dude, he won national championships with subpar quarterbacks, man. And by the way, one of the national championships, TK, was with our FSU quarterback who transferred the backup to Jameis. Remember him?
Yeah, I
So
remember.
yeah, so it's a testament to the great Nick Saban. I forgot his name. It's a testament to the great Nick Saban. And he just reminds me of like this aura, right? There's Red Arbaugh, there's Phil Jackson, this aura of like he's bigger than the sport. Kind of reminds me of wrestling, right? Yeah, like Hulk Hogan is bigger than the sport of wrestling, brother. This reminds me of just this is a guy who's just there's an aura around him. There's something, and the sport is gonna miss him. And not to say that we're Alabama fans, but again, it's just one of these like Derek Jeter, right? Like you put the hat of respect, and you're like, all right, bro, we respect you. Awesome. The modern GOAT, if not the GOAT of college football. Again, a hell of a recruiter. That guy lived and died by the recruiting trail that you could tell by the classes that he got every year. It's just like the professor said, it's just admiration towards him. And the ramifications, I think, is going to be more interesting now that the news has been, slimmered down. It's been a couple of hours.
All I want for Alabama is to take Billy Napier away from us. They can have him. We'll pay them to take him. Please, just take him. Please, please.
Here's the th- here's the
So
thing,
now
though.
let's
Now that
talk about. uh,
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and ask the questions like, what is for the future now that Saban's not there no more, and what kind of implication would that apply for the SEC and college football in general?
The kid.
Nah, I got to give it to you. You're the SEC guy.
None. It's not going to change anything. So when you're looking at the SEC, and this is what I tell everybody, you got to look at how the SEC schedules their games because that shows you how they get to where they are. What the SEC has created is a self-sustaining system where what they've realized is if you have enough teams that have a strong amount of talent, and in the SEC, the number is actually 5 to 6. In every single year, they have 5 to 6 top 15, top 20 schools. And this matters. If they just play each other over and over and over again, the way the system works, no matter what happens, even if they lose, as long as these really great teams don't blow each other out, they're going to end the season in the top 12 every time. So when you're looking at it, because the SEC has that kind of system, the 5 to 6 best teams in the SEC will always be the 5 to 6 best teams in college football. Alabama may not be number one, but even if they're the fourth best team in the SEC, they still make the college football playoffs. That's how it works. But now, where other conferences get it wrong is all of their chips are usually in one or two teams. So something happens, and one of those two teams end up not doing well off of some fluke, the whole conference burns down. That's the difference. It's math.
For me, it reminds me of what happened in reference to the SEC. It reminds me of what happened recently with my alma mater, Florida State, and the whole controversy that we never talked on the record in reference of that. Um, and I think me and the professor are in the same, more or less, we're in the same position where we agree on like 75% of the team that make the playoffs. Texas is the only team where I'm scratching my head going, why? How did Texas get in? And so the joke was because they beat Alabama, an SEC team who beat Georgia. So it's like 6 degrees of separation of that stuff. But the future of the SEC, I agree, right? Like with the expansion of the college football playoffs, and there's more teams involved now, and the way that the professor was arguing that it's a loophole of how they have their matchups. It's only stands to reason that out of the 12 teams, nobody here will be shocked if half of the SEC teams. Oh, you know what? We're gonna pull the Ole Miss. Yeah, Ole Miss, get in there. Auburn, get in there. Oh, by the way, there's remember, Professor, there's 2 new big powerhouse going to the SEC this year: Texas, Oklahoma. So now you have Texas, Oklahoma, Auburn, Bama, Gators. These are big time schools. Like it's pretty bad. This is how bad this is. I guess how great the SEC is, quote unquote. That what Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, those are considered the trash schools of the SEC. Anybody else, those guys will be amazing. Um, and it's just, unfortunately, it's not going to change the landscape in reference of him retiring. Especially again, what happened with Florida State. The thing with Florida State, real quickly, again, I think that the minute Jordan went down, and as much as we all make that argument, that Florida State should have been in the playoffs, and I would have loved to see them in the playoffs. For the record, I just think that let's say we had Tate Rodemaker, right? TK, let's say we had Tate Rodemaker. Because remember, he got injured against the Gators. Let's say we had Tate Rodemaker against Georgia because he transferred. Remember that. And let's say we had it with a full squad, nobody transferred out. I probably would have lost. It's probably like a 60%, 70% chance we would have lost that game. And then let's say we played against Washington or some other playoff team. What was the probability we were going to win with Ted Rodemaker? As opposed to the professor's point, if we had Jordan Travis, guys, we just saw the playoffs. Washington looked like they didn't belong there, man. Washington looked like it was like, okay, this is a varsity football team and this is the JV football team. And Michigan, to their credit, and Harbaugh, you know what they did? Yo, we got big boys out here. We got the big 6'4", 6'6" old linemen, and we're just gonna push you guys out the way. And then a damn thing you can do about it because the Pac-12 is not about physicality. So, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
No, I've always been a believer.
So where did Tate Rodemaker transfer to?
Ted Rodemaker? I don't recall. I don't recall where he went. I don't recall. Best of luck to him. You know, you beat the Gators. That's all I care about.
I'll tell you where. He went to Southern Miss. Do y'all know what conference Southern Miss is?
They're in the,
Nobody does. That's the point.
The MAC?
That's his actual skill set.
No, it's not MAC. I think
His
it's
actual skill set is to be the starting quarterback for Southern Miss. Say it again?
No, I was just saying they're Conference USA. I think they are.
Yeah.
I'm double checking right now.
That's his actual talent level. His actual talent level is to be a starting quarterback in the Conference USA.
So I hate that idea of like you're trying to make it seem like, you know, just because we're in a backup quarterback, we shouldn't compete anymore. That's the one thing I really don't like, because that's the whole point of sports, is for us to compete and go for, you know, the main championship, which is the national championship. And the fact that you're saying, oh, well, you know, our quarterback got injured, so be it, no longer allowed to compete. That kind of that could defies the whole concept of sports in general. And that's the one thing that I don't like. Oh, you're muted, by the way.
Oh, I'm saying I agree with you. Like, I actually agree with you. But the problem is the team, that's what the team did.
Well, yeah,
I agree with you, but yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. We were undefeated with Jordan Travis. We weren't undefeated with Tate Rodemaker.
So? He's still part of the team. Is he
And
not? He's
oh,
not your backup quarterback.
okay, so let's
And
give
it is up to the rest of the players to gather up and get in, try to help him out in order to make their goal of winning those games. Because you're always going to find a way how to compete, and you never know what's going to happen because we've seen it before, where some team that we expect never to win come out and win the game.
Did you all hear about how Rodemaker left because he found out they were recruiting his replacement
mm-hmm,
while he was training for the bowl game?
mm-hmm.
So that tells you that the coaching staff knew he was a Conference USA quarterback. The fact that his teammates dipped shows you that they knew he was a Conference USA quarterback, and that at a certain point he had to admit it for himself too. And I'm not saying it to be offensive. Like what I'm saying is, I think there was a recognition internally about how good he actually really was. Because remember, they
And that's
practice with this
because,
guy every single day.
yeah, but you also got to
Mhm.
think in
I'm listening to you.
consideration that this happened right when everything was already, they were already snubbed and half the team already left. Like what? How different would it have been the circumstances they would have been invited to the playoffs? You wouldn't have all these players leaving because they're all going to be trying to compete and get the national championship, because that's exactly what they came back for. Many of these players came back for one more year to make this happen. You think they're all going to leave out of nowhere, even just because Travis got injured? No, I don't think so.
Actually, I think that part of the problem is the one more year thing, because now you're talking about the NFL. You're not talking about being able to play college football another year. This is the last year. And at the end of the day, their money is tied to what they have on tape in their last games. And I think that's a larger factor in all of this than a lot of them want to say. So, in particular, I think FSU lost their first, second, and third best receivers. So now, if you're really thinking about it, the first receiver leaves, right? What's the second receiver supposed to do? They're supposed to stop and say, yeah, now's my chance. I'm going to go ahead and get some good stuff on tape. But instead, that person went, nah, what I already have on tape is better than what I'm about to do in this game. The second receiver leaving is weird. The first is okay. When you lose your second and third, there's something else there. Because at the end of the day, that person would want to play that game.
Starting running back left too.
Mm-hmm. Your backups should have wanted to play that game so they can get more time. But what I'm saying is, a part of them had to have known they weren't going to do well in that game. But
remember,
now,
to your point, remember what the Georgia Kirby Smart said, if you recall. Kirby Smart said, and it was also presumed that when they asked him about, hey, is anybody guys sitting down, or they're going to opt out the game, and he literally said, it goes, we're taking this game serious. And it was, I guess, reported that Kirby Smart ran up the score against Florida State because the argument was, just because you guys think that you guys are going to go to the NFL, and that's cool, go to the NFL, go get your bag, bro. Verse, Benton, my boy Keon Coleman, Georgia dudes, the majority of them played, and that was a meaningless game. And then when the fans and Danny Cannell and all these people, which I love Danny Cannell, Florida State alumni, when all these people start saying it's a meaningless game, you're insulting the integrity of the damn game. For that, Jay, I would have said I'm not going, as opposed to, hey, I'm gonna insult the damn. Come on, even you gotta admit though, Tika, that's.
I haven't disagreed with you.
No, I'm not saying you did, but I'm just saying that's. Come on, I get you guys are mad. We're all Florida State nation over here, but to go out there and like for that, I would have said politely, we respectfully decline.
But what happens too is, I think what happens also is, I think Georgia had a better understanding of what the moment was than the Florida State staff. What happened with Georgia is they stop and they're like, okay, that Florida State's over there. They're in their feelings. They're beat up. We can run the score up. To me, it looked like they had a whole plan from the first snap to go Super Saiyan 3, 4, and 5 on that team, and they did. And part of the reason why it's not just about pride, it's also about the tape. When you're looking at it, how did that Georgia team look? Each individual person, everybody got a highlight. Everybody made some money in that last game. And if you're a coach, that's what your job is for your seniors. But I'm gonna pass it back to TK.
Great point.
No, and this all happened for why? All these players leaving the team, the transfer, the horrible showing at the Orange Bowl. What was the main cause of all this? It was them getting snubbed from the playoffs. Plain and simple. Because they would have been a different story if they didn't, and they would have made the playoffs. It would have been such a different story, and we will never know, unfortunately, because it never happened. But I do believe that it would have been a different story if Florida State would have made the playoffs. I don't think the players would have leave. I think they would still competed and would have gone to try to at least make a deep run as much as they could into the playoffs, because that's what a competitor does, and that's what Florida State did all year, regardless of who was behind as quarterback.
Agreed on the Florida State point. One thing though, with the Capital One Bowl, like folks are talking about the Capital One Bowl like it's trash. Like, and like I've never seen a year, because there are snubs in college football every single year. Every season, there's a team that believes they should have made it to the big game but didn't. There's a team that believes they should have made it to the playoffs but didn't. And it's always the number 5 and the number 6 team, and they always have a form of a justification as to why. And to TK's point, Florida State's situation this year was particularly one of the worst. And they have a lot of reason to be mad. I totally agree. But at the same time, being the 5th best team in college football and playing in the Capital One Bowl that's not like you're playing in the, what's it called? The not Tostitos Bowl, but like what's that little bowl that Miami played in? What was that?
Oh, it's Rutgers?
Yeah, that thing. It's not like you're playing in that thing. That's a snub, okay? But oh my God, we're the 5th best team. Come on, it's not that bad. Imagine being a Gator fan. Do you know how I feel watching my team play every day, every Saturday? Watching that.
Yeah, but think about it as well. This is an undefeated team. You, as a player, you busted your ass all season, and you were maintained to do everything you were supposed to do in order for you to be able to make it to the playoffs. And then they literally tell you, "Oh yeah, you won it all. That's amazing, but we're not putting you in the playoffs." How does that make you feel?
Yeah, but why?
As a competitor.
But why? Right? Why did let's be real. Let's put the cards on the
No,
table.
I know why they did it, because it was a financial decision.
Why?
It's a financial decision. But for me is that's what kills me. It's like it shouldn't be a financial decision. It should be about the accomplishments that you've done. And be respectful about the competition, the level of competition that we're doing. That's where I think.
What do you mean? I missed that part. Huh? What part's a financial decision? I missed that part.
Oh, because of Jordan Travis being injured, they knew that Florida State wasn't going to quote unquote show up. And because of that, it was going to hurt ratings and the team was going to dominate. They were trying to find they were trying to sell a competitive story.
Let's have an honest conversation though. Like let's be honest. So do we believe that the ACC championship Florida State is a superior team to Alabama? Like, do we actually believe that?
This year, yes, I do believe that.
The Rodemaker Florida State is better than the Alabama that we saw. That was on par with Michigan.
Yeah.
No.
I think our defense was almost unstoppable. I really love our defense. And
what about the offense?
And our offense was going to be competitive enough to go ahead and make a run.
Let me remind you, because I was at the Swamp. Let me remind you guys that without Trey Benton, we lose that game.
Yeah,
it wasn't Tate Rodemaker.
We have played, and that's what I'm saying. You have other players who picked up the slack.
Keon Coleman on that beautiful bomb to Keon Coleman, that was a horrible pass. They called 15 yards at the defensive corner for
you almost lost that game too
for the Gators. I was with my dad going like, "Oh, I'll take it," but I don't know if that defeats me. I don't know if that was a hold. I don't know. I'm being objective here.
Like to me, if you're a Florida State fan, your best argument is that you're better than Texas, maybe, but better than Alabama. There's no way.
Alabama would have beaten us.
There's no way.
I disagree.
With Tate Rodemaker? Absolutely.
I disagree. I think we had plenty of talent enough to be able to help Rodemaker get us the win.
So okay,
we barely beat the Gators. We barely beat the Gators.
We would have beaten Alabama because our defense was so much better.
But hold on, could Florida State
we were keeping people under? What we were keeping people under 15 points.
Okay, but this is
a lot about it. Defense wins games. That's always been something I've always said.
Okay, But have we gone against Alabama and Michigan?
So you can't say you can't. Yeah, Benson couldn't score. You say you couldn't somehow get the hands on Coleman and him make plays to make it to the end zone. You think that other players don't exist outside of the
I
quarterback?
I think Michigan would have destroyed us.
Oh yeah, Michigan would have destroyed anybody that would have made the playoffs.
But Michigan didn't destroy
But that's
Alabama.
Michigan.
Correct. I was going to that. I was leading to that.
Michigan barely survived Alabama. Alabama almost made it to the big game themselves. That
And
game
Jay-
went to overtime.
And Jay, that's not even Alabama's greatest team in the last
It
5 years.
wasn't. Like I saw that game. I saw that whole game. I was sitting down there. I was like, he's gonna do it again.
And that's
I
a dumb.
was
And that was a dumb
gonna be
play, by the way.
mad.
That was a horrible fourth quarter play. The fourth down play. They lost that game. But I know what TK feels. He feels for his UCF. He reminds him of the UCF. That's what he's trying.
Do anything with UCF.
The whole idea that they never got their shot in Florida State, dude, they would have got destroyed.
That's
And I
nothing else, bro. That's something different, and you're bringing up for no reason.
No. I'm not saying that they're connected.
No,
I'm saying,
you're trying to connect my relationship with the University of
No,
Florida.
that's not what I'm
with
saying.
this as well. You're
not
trying
what
to
I'm
do
saying.
that, and I'm
Hold
telling
on,
you, it's
let
two
me
different
point out
stories.
for you.
that's not what I'm saying.
I think what the kid is saying is it's a similar principle.
There you go.
The idea. Let me finish. I'm not going to say what you think I'm going to say. the idea that at the end of it, it's about having your shot. It's about having the chance.
Correct.
Because you earned the chance. Is that fair to say?
It's all about competition and fairness.
Yeah. That's all. Yeah.
I wasn't saying that I'm comparing both situations. I'm saying that I'm comparing the spirit of how UCL felt that they got screwed with Florida State. I'm not saying the teams or the situation.
No, it's a different situation.
I'm not saying that.
There's no ties to it and whatsoever.
I'm saying there's no ties. You're not hearing me. I'm saying there's no ties.
What we're saying is it's
I'm saying that. Correct.
Principle. The idea that I never even got a chance to compete.
There you go. That's what we're saying.
Yeah. Again, it's a different situation between what happened with UCF and what happened to FSU.
We agree there.
Correct.
All right, cool. Then the thing for me is like, why bring UCF? That has nothing to do with what's going on.
We're not saying the school. I'm not saying
you mentioned it
because
because the idea, not the.
I'll be the referee. If anything, the UCF example actually supports your point. The idea that at the end of the day, the teams that deserve a shot should have a shot. That maybe it shouldn't just be about who's the first best, second best, third best, and fourth best team. How it should actually be who deserves it the most, who had the best actual season. Because those are two completely different rubrics. So if you're looking at one set, you're making the argument that I make, where I believe it should be the top 4 teams in college football. Your point's completely different. It should be the teams that have the top 4 seasons in college football. It's two completely different analyses. And that's okay. That's a legitimate conversation. To your point, Florida State had a better season than Alabama did. Absolutely. I can't argue against that. That's
correct.
True.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'll give you a hot take, TK. I think the 2017 UCF have a better chance. I'm saying they have a better story than Florida State did because Jordan got injured. In other words, I think that UCF 2017 should have got a national championship shot at a higher probability level than this Florida State team. Hot take.
I don't agree with that.
There's no injury.
I don't agree. Again, it's all about it's all about competition. You go in as a team, you win as a team. It doesn't matter if you have 1 superstar, 2 superstar, 3 superstar. If you dismiss one of them because he got, you're dismissing every one of them just because a quarterback got injured. You're dismissing the fact that Coleman is not a all of a sudden
Heisman candidate Jordan Travis. Heisman candidate Jordan Travis.
That's fine. That's fine. But you still had Coleman as a wide receiver. You have Johnny Wilson as a wide receiver.
Who didn't do a damn thing against UF.
You're dismissing them right there. You also have Benson. You're dismissing him. You had Burst. You're dismissing him. And the list could go on and on of all the talent that we have on both sides of the field and basically telling him, oh, yeah, your QB got hurt. Guess what? You guys don't matter anymore.
But actually, TK, like when you're looking at the talent on the field, right? So to me, the big test was that UF game.
Yep.
You all have a lot of talent on offense, tremendously. Once you took out the starting quarterback, all of that talent barely made up for how bad not bad. That's not fair.
Average.
How inferior the second string quarterback was. They carried that man on their backs, and I think that's fair to say.
Yeah,
to your point, the defense
and because of that, they were able to get that win. It was a
Absolutely.
hard win.
against a bad
Absolutely.
UF team. And you imagine Bama and Michigan?
First of
Still,
all, that
it's
UF team
still-
wasn't bad. That UF team is terrible. Let's be clear. Terrible. And I'm a
Got
UF
him.
fan.
Got
I'm
him.
not gonna lie to y'all and say the team was bad. No, it's terrible. Florida State, I looked at that screen and I'm like, we're gonna get waxed any second now. It's over for us, man. And we hung
No
in
way.
there. And I was like, how are we hanging
That
in
game
there?
was close. That game was close, dude.
It was too close. And
Yeah.
part of what hurt you was that game being so close.
Yes.
Still,
Yes.
you competed, you won the game. That's what matters. We always said it. You got to get the W. That's the first thing they tell you when you start getting into competitive sports. Is you're working your way so you can get your wins, so you can compete for the competition, so you can compete for the championships. And for you to go ahead and say, hey, you know what, you did exactly all that, but we're going to put a team that have one loss ahead of you because your star player got hurt, and I think that's
Well,
fucked up.
There's one. It's not. There's another thing. The other part too is it's also strength of schedule. So if you're being honest, like really honest, Alabama's strength of schedule and Florida State's don't even compare.
Nope.
And I think that's fair to say.
Nope.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree.
So when you're looking at it, yeah, they stopped and they said, okay, like when you're doing the whole analysis, Florida State lost their starting quarterback and their strength of schedule was poo-poo and they barely beat UF. And yeah, they went through the ACC championship. Yeah, but their quarterback ended up concussed. So there's that piece. Versus you have Alabama that had, I believe, 2 losses, right? Something like that. Is it 1 or 2?
I think it was 2, and they beat Georgia.
Yeah. What were the 2 losses again? Against who?
Texas and somebody else.
Yeah. Then they sat down and they said, okay, they lost to Texas. We get that. Because look at who Nick Saban recruited. We don't even know those people. Now look at how they ended. They stopped and they went, dang, that's an elite team. Maybe we should put them in there. And we have to be honest, and we have to admit that they were actually right on that call. That Alabama team actually was a national championship candidate team.
I agree. I agree. Just take out Texas and put Florida State in.
And to me,
you can't do that.
Exactly.
Because of the head-to-head. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And to me, this is the real conversation. So you have a committee of 12 people, 4 times us, voting on this thing. You're going to get to the exact same conclusion because of what you can do, what you have to do, and what you can't do.
But we all know, hold on, but we all know that college football, and especially with the BCS highlighted this, the era of the BCS era, we all know that college football is not only you win, guys, but it's also how you win.
How you win.
We got to be fair here for a second. And again, we love Florida State minus J. That Louisville game was bad optics, bro. I can't defend it, TK. Was bad.
Looked terrible.
That was bad.
Yeah, it was really bad. But again, it's about competition. That's always been my thing. That if you competed and you did everything that you did, they deserve to be.
So what about what I just said right now? Unfortunately, style matters in college football.
Yes, I understand that, but I've always been a person who believes in competition. And if you did everything you were supposed to do, no matter how ugly it looks, you still got that W, you should be in. Because at the end of the day, if you want to compare about the difference between Alabama and Florida State, the main difference is Florida State didn't lose.
In the BCS era, Florida State would even make it.
They wouldn't.
Oh, no, because it would have been Washington and Michigan.
But why? Because style matters, and they've been trash ever since Jordan's gone.
But
understandable, but they still should have been in as an undefeated team in a playoff system that has 4 spots with only 3 undefeated teams.
Yeah, that's a good argument. I'll give you that one. But the BCS, no.
No, the BCS because there's 2. You got to pick out of those 3 teams. Eventually, unfortunately, Florida State would have been the one that would have been out in this case. But
with the BCS though, at least you knew the formula. Because at the end of the day, let's be honest about something. The BCS and getting rid of it didn't change anything. You have the exact same results you would have had anyways. It's just that now you don't have the numbers to back it up. But again, when you sit down and you do the analysis and you have the discussion, what happens? You get to the exact same place. You really do.
Bring the BCS back.
You really should. Because at least now you have numbers to yell at rather than be like, it's a conspiracy.
Because I think what hurts also, guys, is the human element factor. Right? It's subjective aspects of like, you know what? Alabama should be here for the 14th consecutive year. Why? Why would Alabama be here? Like, let's give it.
I said the same thing, and then I saw it for myself, and I was like, well, shit.
I remember the BCS actually would have helped lower teams as well. If we actually had the
Mhm.
BCS now, like again, it would have helped teams that I don't know, but who made it to the national championship? For example, TCU last year.
Mhm.
Instead of I don't, which you know what, I don't know about that anymore because you lost on the championship game. So I don't know how that perception looks in the BCS. But anyways,
Mhm.
the last 2 years have been disappointing in terms of the national championship because TCU looked like they didn't belong. And Washington, dude, I feel bad for that kid. I was rooting for that quarterback so badly, and he got destroyed.
What
And
happened with Washington made no. Again, going back to better arguments for Florida State. Why don't we talk about how Florida State's not there, but Washington is? Because I don't understand what I saw there. I legitimately don't get it. I don't understand it.
I'll say this though, Jordan, we would have lost with Jordan against Michigan, but we would have had a hell of a lot better battle with Michigan, us full squad, than Washington did. And
Yep.
I don't know, we beat Alabama. Alabama's probably 50-50 because there's always we have to respect Alabama, but we would have beat Texas and we would have beat Washington. And if
You want to make
in a perfect and me and TK were talking about this weeks ago. In a perfect world, it would have been Florida State, I think number 3,
Florida
right?
State would have number 3 against
And
Washington,
then
number 2.
and then they fight each other, and then we just go to the next. Correct. And we play Washington. They fight each other. Hey, whoever wins, it is what it is. And Florida State had the puncher's chance. I'm not saying we're going to win.
Are you saying if
But we
you
have
had
a
Jordan
puncher's
Travis? Is that what you're saying?
with Jordan. With Jordan. That's what I'm saying. With Jordan Travis. That's what we're arguing. If that would have been that ranking with Jordan Travis, I don't know. Florida State got robbed the national championship.
No. I don't even think you need all that analysis. It's simple. If you had Jordan Travis, you're the best team in college football, and that's it. That's it. Michigan wouldn't have won. Like, that's it. I'm a hater, and I'm gonna tell you. Like, that's it. Y'all
And
would
you know
have been
what?
battle tested.
And you know what killed me to your point? That's a great point because if you when we all saw the game on Monday, that
Mhm.
destruction, dude, the guy doesn't run. He just stands
Nope.
there. I'm like,
Yep.
Jordan Travis would have taken advantage of that play all day long.
Yep.
It's,
And here's my thing. I think with Florida State, I think that fans got upset at the wrong time about the wrong thing. I think what should have happened is they should have saved their ammo and saved their arguments for the whole thing to end. Because if y'all would have saved your energy for that terrible ending that we had, you could have been like, you see, you were better off with us in there rather than 2 of them trash teams, and all people could do was eat it. Because at the end of the day, Washington did not belong out there, and Texas didn't look too good either, and that's a fact.
but are you guys worried that could happen with the 12-team playoffs? That you're gonna get some scrubbed school and they're gonna get mopped, and then be like, oh, here we go. We let too many people in.
My fear is injuries. Now, what's going to end up happening is by the time you get to the big game, both of the last teams are going to be so beat up that it's not going to look right either.
How's it gonna work? By the way, that's a lot of games.
The way it's going to work is the teams in the top conferences are going to get a bye from the first round.
Oh,
They're gonna play against diminished versions of the teams that weren't on the top, which will probably end up being SEC schools, if we're being honest. Then you move to a semifinal, then you move to a final.
so basically, you're incentivized to win your conference.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you win your conference, you are pretty much automatic in, and you're gonna have the
Mhm.
bye.
Oh, so it started this year, right? Thank you, college football. What about last year?
Yeah.
What about last year? God,
Mhm.
Jesus.
Exactly.
Which
But I
plays
think
another
it's
role.
also
They were able to scroll Florida State out of it because they know that this year that's coming up, that's not going to be an issue, or at least we hope it's not.
Hey,
For the
we're gonna reload, and we're gonna be the best team in the ACC. Lead us, DJ. Lead us.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope
All
so,
right.
because if not,
No, here we go.
Yeah.
He can't let me get one. He can't let me get one.
you can have it. Go ahead. You can have it.
Hey, before you go, TK, hashtag extend Billy Napier.
10 more
You can
years,
have
baby.
this
Let's go.
10 more years. 10
Get him
more
away.
years.
All right, and we'll call it here for now, guys. Thank you for tuning
Choice
in
to go
here with
alone.
us at Nerd Breaking
Take this.
News. Go ahead and subscribe, like, give us a comment, tell us what you think about the Nick Saban story. And we know we went on a whole tangent into the whole Florida State stuff. So I know the things in the bottom doesn't really match of it, but we'll eventually figure it out. But till then, guys, take care. We'll see you next time.